G'day trendsetters, Greg here from Fish Bay Films, and today we are back on the workshop in the bench looking at the Walthers Mainline SD70 ACe. It's basically a Proto 2000 really in a Proto 1000 body. That's what it is. Now there's a thing you see here, it says on the box here, it says making railroad history. Now you might think that's a bit of a wank, but it's actually very true with this locomotive, and we'll get into that in a minute. Why this locomotive is like nothing else that you can buy out there as far as drivetrain is concerned. But we'll briefly talk about the body. Now, it's what's inside that counts, brother. You know, I always say that, trendsetters, that I don't care if the details on a loco aren't that good. You can always add details, but you cannot improve the drive system of a locomotive. Not without an awful lot of work. You used to be able to do it years ago in the older Ferns and stuff, you can do that. But to really improve something, it's almost impossible. So you're better off starting with the better insides, and you can always fix the outside. So let's have a look at the body first, and then we'll chuck that, and we'll really have a look at the guts of this and see what makes this loco so special. Now, I'm sure there's been many reviews on these, so we all know that they're reasonably basic with their details, but there are some nice little features. There's some nice detailing down here of all your airlines and stuff around down the side of the loco here. None of the grills are see-through, so you know they're all just moulded on. The hatch details down the side, they're not too bad at all. Comes to the roof. Now, one thing I do like, the exhaust is drilled out, or not drilled out, but moulded out, so that's good. That lets the heat out from the decoder, as I'm always going on about. And also a hatch over the dynamic brake. I don't know what that's for, but that's see-through as well. So that's good. You're going to get the heat out of your decoder, and you're going to get a little bit of noise out of there, so that's good. And we'll go to the other end. Okay, the fan detail isn't too bad. They're not see-through either, but they're not too bad. You can see the blades, so you know that's okay. Oh, also be careful. I broke the air horn off, the centre chime off the air horn, because that's how you pick it up. Your fingers go right there. And but anyway, not to worry. Now, as you can see on the front, trendsetters. No MU hoses, no couple of cut bars, nothing like that. That's just all plain there. The handrails, oh, this one's come off here because I've been handling this thing so many times. The handrails are small. They look flimsy, but all Proto's handrails are quite rugged, so they can handle a bit of abuse, and they are quite fine, so they're very good. Ditch lights, they are working ditch lights, but they're really, really dull. We'll get into that when we look into the chassis. No grab irons down here, but there are locator holes, little dimples where you drill out for the grab irons. And that's the same with, where are we? A couple there too, all down the side here where they need grab irons. So none of that are on, but I mean, yeah, Details, where's the Details Associates, you know, heaps of people make this stuff that you can go and get. Okay, down the rear end, radiators, of course, all nicely done, but not see-through, but still quite nice. These hatches here, or these grills here, they're not see-through either. But you know, you weather them up and put some black in there, you wouldn't notice a difference, so that's not too bad. But the actual detail is quite good, quite sharp. Lettering's really good. Same again for the rear pilot. No details at all. So you'll have to put your own stuff in there, trendsetters. The lights are good. The front and rear headlights are LEDs. They're very good. Okay, so that's the body explained. We know we can fix that, don't we? We can fix the body. That's easy. A couple of bucks on a few detail stuff, and we can fix that. But what we really want to look at, trendsetters, is in here, in the guts of it. And that's the real secret to why they're making railroad history, like it says on the box. So I'll get rid of this, and we'll check out the drivetrain, and we'll explain helical gearing to you and why it is, well, I think extremely important, and the way we should be moving forward in this hobby. Because let's face it, I'll show you a locomotive that I bought when I was 15. It's not much different to what we've got now. So let's get into this chassis of this Proto 2000 or Walthers Mainline locomotive. Okay, we have the body off. Now, speaking of taking the body off, Walthers say there's 4 screws to take the body off the chassis, But Walters, there's 6. Yes, there's 6. So there's 2 down the back here at the rear. They say there's 4. There's 2 in the fuel tank. 1 here, and 1 for each coupler pocket. So that's the 4 they recommend. Well, the 4 they say. So there's 1 here at each end of the fuel tank near the trucks, and 1 for each coupler pocket. But they forget to tell you about these 2 down here at the rear end of the loco. Now, I was struggled with this for a good 20 minutes before I thought, no, I'm going to wreck this, and I had to. You really got to move the truck to find these 2 screws. So Walters, find someone who can read English, or at least write it anyway, when you're doing, because people are going to damage these locos, because I've pulled dozens of locos apart, and I can normally find screws and all that sort of thing, but I couldn't find these 2. It was only the fact that the rear end was getting stuck all the time, and I was starting to pull the handrail section off the body. So anyway, be very careful with that, trendsetters, so you don't ruin it. Right, let's get into the guts of this thing. Now, here's a drawing I've prepared earlier, trendsetters. This is a very accurate drawing of helical gearing. Now, at the top here is your standard cog. So you've got your teeth going across the cog at right angles to the surface of the cog, to the body of the cog. That's your bog standard gear. That's what's in all our drivetrains and all that sort of thing. And your worm goes along here. Your worm from your motor sits on top of here, and it turns around and turns your cog. Now, the trouble with a normal worm drive like that is that because these are straight across, your worm only gets to go on about 1 tooth or 2 teeth, 1.5 teeth at a time. And it sort of, not jumps across, but it's not as smooth because it's only grabbing on 1 tooth and then the next one and then the next one and then the next one. But with helical gearing, here we are here, you can see that the teeth are at an angle. They're cut at an angle across. So what that does is the worm your worm still sits on top of here, like that. Or should I say, like that? There we go. And it's spinning. And what it can do is it can be in contact, because these are on an angle, it can be on the head of that one and on the tail of that one, because it's sort of wiping it as it goes through like that. Now, that does a couple of things. One, it's a lot smoother, and you have more contact of the worm per revolution of the worm on the cog. Where are we? I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. But the best thing about it is, and this is why Proto say easy multiple unit operation, depending on the angle of these cuts here, if these are cut really, really strongly across here, more than what I've drawn here, you can actually get to a situation where you can actually push the worm. Now, that's the trouble with all our locomotives, trendsetters. A gear like this, you can't push the worm. That's why you can't push a loco along the track. It locks up, right? Now, if real locomotives are like that, they go about a foot and destroy themselves. They don't. Real locomotives have a standard gear like this, but they have another gear from the traction motor that comes out onto here, and this is on your wheel, and it's just a normal gear set, and that's why they can just roll down the track. I mean, ideally, that's what we should have, but it's, that's a bit complicated to do all that. But this is a step in the right direction. And Proto and Walters, I commend you for doing this, and congratulate you, I should say. This is really a step in the right direction, because what this does, depending on this angle of this gear cut here, on this helical gear, you can't push the worm, but you can assist it a little bit. So if you try a normal locomotive, in our normal worm drives, if you try and push the locomotive, even when it's running a little bit, a percent faster, you can't do it because the worm will lock up. But with a helical gear, because it's wiping across these sections at a time here, it's not a right angle. I'm not saying you can push the motor, but you can assist it, you can speed it up a little bit, so you don't have to be so precise with the speed matching, and they're not fighting each other. So very good. Very good. That's the reason why these locos are, as it says on the box, making railroad history. So, how do you know you've got helical gears in your locomotive? Well, let's turn it over and have a look. Roll her over, trendsetters. Now, this is where you see where things are different. You can see how wide the gear cover is on the trucks here. And that will tell you that the helical gears, that's so you can tell how the helical gears are inside in there. Now, also another thing, the axles, and some people might not like this, the axles don't go all the way through to the outer casings here, the outer truck side frames. The actual bearings are inside here, not on the outside. So they're not relying on the little bit of brass strip that nearly all other manufacturers do. They've actually gone through and put bearings internally in here. And if you think that's interesting, I will show you something. This here is an old Therm blue box that I bought when I was 15. This thing would be nearly 40 years old. Let's flip it over when I work out how to do two things at once. There we go. There you see brass sintered bearings there and there that support the axles and support the weight. They're inboards, they're not on the outside. All the stresses are not on the outside on the frame, they're on the in here. So there you go. That's 40-year-old technology. As I go in front of the camera there again. And Walthers have brought it back into well, actually, Walthers have always had that. So most of their locos have those brass bearings. So there's another little thing that things you don't see that make the loco impressive. And not so much the outside, it's the inside. Nice and heavy, like all Protos are, really nice. Very nice job on all the moulding in that here. It's almost as pretty to have it with the body off rather than with the body on. They've machined out here so you can fit any decoder in, basically any PC board decoder you like in there. This has got a Tsunami in it. And you can see where they've used all the weight down here. Nice big motor. The motors are really large. They're a big, big motor. And using all the weight, we've got LED headlights up here. Now, I was saying before, the ditch lights. There we go here. Your ditch light LEDs are here. And they shine into the end of the body. And these are quite bright, but I might have to have a look and see why they're so dull. Maybe there's a bit of paint or something across the lighting tubes or something. But anyway, they're there. Now, this is really nice. Look what they've done here with the speaker trendsetters. We might zoom in on this and have a bit of a look. Now, this is pretty groovy. They've machined a place here for the speaker. And this has got I guess it's a 25 by 16 millimeter rectangular speaker, which I turned down a lot. It was way too loud and sounded pretty average, and I turned it down to about half, I think, like I do with all my locos. The sound instantly improved. So it's quite good now for factory, and I think it's quite very good. So I think out of 255, I think I'm running it at 100 or 80 or something. So that's CV131. The first thing you do with the locomotive is turn that down. And that way, all of a sudden, your horn will be way too loud because it doesn't have to fight over the prime movers. You know, I keep saying this. Just bloody well do it. Turn your prime movers down. So they instantly improve the sound. Very clever. Look what they've done. They've now, if you don't like that, you could take that out and put in. You could fit in a couple of those sugar cube speakers that everyone's raving about. You could probably fit them in there. There's quite a bit of room. You've got the drive shaft here, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to fit a couple of those in. What they've done, trendsetters, if you can see there, they have drilled out the chassis under here with some holes, so some of the noise can go through and down onto the rail, and the rest reverberates up through the truck. It's very clever, Proto. I'm going to say Proto because, you know, Proto make them. Walthers don't. They just, you know, they just got the name. Right. Now, the locomotive comes with lots of paraphernalia, some good instruction manuals there, and detailed parts list and all that sort of thing, how to pull it apart from the 6 screws, Walthers. And what they do say in the blurb is that these locomotives are built to work. And they really are. With their construction is bulletproof with the bearings, the helical gears. These things are made to pull trains for a long time. And I would think that if you had a exhibition layout, like let's drop a name. When I was in Chicago, trendsetters, and I went to the Science and Technology Museum, a huge, fantastic place there. And they have a huge layout there that runs trains just around in 3 loops. It's nothing that a model railroader would go and see for operation, but it's a fantastic layout. And they run trains constantly there on DC, and something like this would be perfect for them because they just run and run and run. And I was talking to one of the guys here actually, and most of the locos they run on that layout are Catos and Atlas, because the others just don't last. And even the Catos and the Atlas, they don't get their very long life at all because they're running constantly. This sort of thing would be fantastic for that, but also very good for the home modeler. All you need to do is detail up that body a little bit, and you will have the best, in my opinion, locomotive that's available out there. So let's stop rabbiting on, and we'll get the body on it, we'll get it up on the layout, and we'll see how it runs. Okay, here we are for loco on the layout. Now, the first thing I did with this one, as I do with all of mine, is turn the prime mover volume sound, that's CV131. And this is now running at about 100. It was way too loud out of the box, and you could hardly hear the horn. This is the other thing I keep saying. People say the horns aren't loud enough. The horns are plenty loud enough. It's the prime movers that are all too loud. This is the horn. That's pretty good. I haven't done any EQing on this yet. This decoder, after running it, this decoder is a bit of a hybrid. It's really a Tsunami 1, but it does have some Tsunami 2 features in it. And it doesn't have, I can't find the dynamic brakes. I've tried function 4, I've tried all the functions. I can't get any dynamic brakes out of it. So someone might know where they are. A few other little things. Luckily the speed tables and all that are the same, unlike Tsunami 2s, which have taken their speed tables out. You only get a linear speed table and a 3-point one, where this one doesn't have the one of the curves that I use. So sorry, this one does, but the Tsunami 2s don't, so I have to go and plot them. But anyway, thankfully this one does. But a few other things it doesn't have, so it's sort of a hybrid, and I've done some research, and Tsunami make the decoders for these, but they're to Walthers specifications, so a few things are a bit different. But anyway, thankfully the speed table and the motor setup and all that is the same. The actual prime mover sound is quite good. As you're turning it down, it's much better now, and so you can hear the horns plenty loud enough. And well, we've got the bell. Now I think I'm running that bell about 30 out of 255, so that's plenty loud enough. Remember, you have all your sounds turned up, they can't have to fight with each other. Turn them all down, then you can split them up and everything pops out. So the headlight's on, the number boards are on, but they're very, very dull. We'll see it going around the layout, they're a little bit brighter. But anyway, apart from that, looks good on the layout. Obviously it's missing details, but you know, once I find a nice little brunette young lady who can do super detailing, she can put them on for me. Yeah, righto. Okay, so here we go. So this is very quiet, but it sounds very good when you're close to it, and that's the idea, trendsetters. Now I've had to make speed step on a little bit faster so it matches with my other ones, but it will go slower than that. Now the thing I've noticed with the helical gearing, it's not so much when the loco is running by itself you see it, it's under load that you really see it. When it's trying to pull up a hill from a standing start, that's where you really see the benefits of the helical gearing, the smoothness. But the trucks are nicely detailed, and it does sound good. It does sound good close up. I do like it. And that's a factory speaker as well. Needs a little bit of EQing, needs a bit of the mid-range taken out, a little bit more treble. But as I say, it doesn't have the preset EQs either. The normal Tsunami ones have 7 preset EQs. and you just go through a CV153 and you go through that, and they're preset to different size speakers. It makes a huge difference. I feel this has still got a lot more running in too. Let me just notch him up a little bit here. Alrighty, let's get him on a train and we'll show you how it goes. Now this is what I was saying before. This is where you see the helical gearing sort of come in. It's harder to put it across in the video, but when you see it running in real life, you can notice a difference. But this is starting on a 1.8% grade around a curve, so compensated it's probably about 2.5%. 14 cars, that's about the limit of adhesion for this. A Kato will probably do about 13 or 12, so this will pull a little bit better than a Kato, or thereabouts, but super smooth. And this is where you really see it. This is a slight bit of wheel spin, but the gearing is so smooth it just sort of crawls away. As you really have to see it in person. actual lurching, you can see it actually is wheel slipping, so it's losing a little bit of traction. It's right on the verge, Trent says. Well, there you go. The Walthers Mainline SD70 ACe. Mechanically, fantastic. Very impressed with it. And the decoder's a bit, it's a bit iffy. It's missing a few functions that a normal Tsunami would have. But if you're not too worried about that, well, it's no big deal. The program's the same as far as motor control and speed matching and all that sort of thing. But if you want a proper Tsunami in it, probably the go would be to buy one of these without a decoder, DCC ready. And you'll be sweet. As far as the body goes, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here and say, would I buy another one like this? Not probably with my eyesight. I find it difficult enough doing the Kato installs with all their little handrails and stuff, and that's with the holes drilled in the right places. These have the markings for the holes, but the holes aren't drilled. So that's not Walter's fault, that's my fault for only having one eye, I guess. But if you like putting details on, you're quite happy to do that, or if you know someone who could do it, absolutely. These are, I think, fantastic, especially for the drivetrain and everything. But if you're like me and you struggle putting detail parts on, that's, could be a bit of their downfall. So I really hope that Walters come to the party and make a Masterline series or Proto series or whatever they want to call of these locos and the Gevos and that, because we really are missing good quality, reliable running units in ACEs and Gevos, in my opinion. So there you go. So we'll have this consisted up with another loco soon. Once I finish speed matching, I've just done a rough match on it, and we'll run it around the lad and we'll show you that in an upcoming video. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. So hooroo for now. Bye bye.